Hi, I'm Nelson Ford at the Gunsmith in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm going to do a couple of question and answers. Bruce, I have a model 60, 67, and 68. All three are XCHP. My model 60 was used by administrative staff such as chiefs, etc. What upsets me is that they overstamped the CHP to OHB. They did the same to the Remington 870s. Well, it's okay because collectors know that, and that's just all part of it. And so you can probably go out and find what you're looking for with CHP on them, but I'd kind of just be just as happy with the OHB because that's what they did. It's all part of it. Cool stuff. Mr. Ford, what new production revolver will handle a steady diet of 357 Magnum ammo? If I was running heavy ammo, I would have to be 21 years old. I'd have to lose almost 50 years of my life. The L frame was specifically made for that. When they brought in the engineer from Ruger, Baker, what was his name? Anyway, he was a friend of an engineer from Smith. He came in working on the K-frame to make it handle magnums. And I know I say 1/10 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch, 1/10 of an inch on that. And people correct me. They go, oh, it's 0.620 or 820. But they roughly went up 1/10 of an inch so that they could leave the forcing cone full and not have to cut the flat on the K-frame. So the L-frame was designed for magnums, and they put that underlug out there like the Colt Python has, and that helps with the Magnum recoil. That's the L-frame is just the darling for that cartridge. Mr. Ford, thanks for taking time to answer questions, share your experience. My question is, when you reflect on your career, how do you think you measure up to your younger self? I'm not frightened of my younger self, but I had to learn, and everybody goes through that. It's a learning process. It's why a lot of second marriages work out better than the first, because they go through a learning process, and they've already had a lot of experience. And so, somehow God wanted me to work on these things, and he kept me doing it. I did it against all odds. I stamped on my vice on one side effort and the other side pain. I've stood over that vice in tears before. I've smashed my fingers. There's not a lot of money involved. It's tough. If you're going to be a gunsmith, you're going to have a tough life. It may get better as you get older, as you get smarter and realize what you can do and what you can't do. It took me a long time to figure it all out. But unfortunately, my body is running out. And I know there's people a lot older than me doing this. But time's running out too. So I'm going to keep working on guns for a while. I still enjoy it. I still have a good time. All right, random. I just got a 1948 K22. 59,000, that's early. That's like 47 or 48. 1947. Oh, it says 48 right there. Subscribe to me online. Auction house terms finished. 2 chambers slightly at a time. If I thumb cock it normally. Took it to the range yesterday. It shot well. There's measurable difference in forcing cone wear. More on the left. Well, if it's coming in slow, pointing away from you, the wear should be on the right, not the left, because the cylinder goes this way. So I'd like to get a good picture of that forcing cone sent to my store number, and we can download that and look at it. But if it's not clocking all the way into place, you need to get that hand heated and bent. I like to use the original parts. Those guns deserve their original parts. Packmeyer grip. The Magna grips are gold if you put a Tyler T in there. And there's that other place, Robert's Trading Post, that makes a fair copy of it. And if you don't want to spend what's getting to be $100 to $150 for an original Tyler T, why they don't keep making them and put them all out there so we can buy them, I don't know. Because they could charge $75 a piece for them and get it. But the Robertson's Trading Post has them for $30 on eBay. And I always keep a couple at the store for myself because I like them. And that fills the grip, and it lowers your position on the grip. That's what your Hogue and your Pachmeyer and your Target grips, they all drop you down to put your finger in line with the trigger, so you're not like this, you're like this. And it's nice to have the wood on the gun and the look. If you're a 6-footer plus, you're gonna have big hands, you're not gonna want to fit the gun right. But if you're 5'8", 5'9", a Tyler T will fill up that area very nicely. This guy's talking about ratchets. I think it's the same guy. I noticed most K22s in that era, looking at gunbroker picks, that the ratchet looks very uneven, unlike the Premor model you showed at 212. Had ratchets that look like my 17.2, nice and even and shiny. Are those uneven looking ratchets just from excessive wear? You know, they would have to have a hell of a lot of use on them not to work right. Ed McGivern in his book discusses several K22s that he has 200,000 rounds through. And I know this is going to be hard for you to believe, but my brother-in-law and I would go out to the desert with a brick of 22s after work every day for at least a few years. And God knows we have close to that many through it, 150,000 rounds through them. And they'll work. You just heat and bend the hand, and then they're good. And if the 6-shotters have a big enough lug that if one's out of time and one's not, you can go in there and influence it. There's a picture in one of my videos where I show a 5-shot cylinder, and the hits are slow on 2 of them, and you can see on the lugs where I punched both of them to move metal out, and then there's a second strike. I left the same cartridges in there at the center. So you can adjust single or multiple chambers by themselves. You can always get the 6-shot or 5-shot Smiths to behave. And if you can't find anybody to do it for you, I'll do it for you. I've been testing this extractor. No matter how much tension I add, it won't even hold a round in place. It just falls out. There's a donut in there on the extractor right here. And you've got to cut it back, but you notice it has to sit in a circular hole. So if you just cut the flat, then it's contacting here and here in that circular hole. So you have to cut a groove or a cut this way and that way in order to make it a curved surface on that donut. So you bring it in. You will bring that hand in if it's got tension on it, and you keep cutting these 3 surfaces. You will bring it into your cartridge. Hang in there, it'll happen. Great content as usual. I saw Brian Pierce recommended lead bullets over jacket bullets to save the forcing cone on the premium S&W revolvers. Do you agree? I don't want to damage any of my older Smiths if I can avoid it. You know, I use jackets because I reload, and I use hard cast bullets. I use 158 grain semi-wad cutters and round noses for speed loaders, you know, when I use some of those as well. You're going to have to shoot a lot to tear up those bores. I was discussing earlier the K22. Ed McGivern was shooting groups like this with guns that had 200,000 rounds through them. You're going to have to be doing a lot of shooting. What is the proper powder to use that won't burn forcing cones? I hate to ruin my Smiths. Use flakes. And keep them under 900. If you want to use ball powders like 630, 296, and H110, you will burn your forcing cone. You know, it's just like your engine on your car. If you hammer it every time you get to a stoplight, you're going to wear it out. But if you drive it nice, it'll last forever. And that goes with your Smiths. Just don't crank them up. And the ball powders are generally used to crank them up. What do you think about the new Model 17 masterpieces for plinking, woods, fishing, carrying, informal or local target like bullseye? I love Smith Wesson. I think they make the best revolver of any. I don't consider new guns. I really never have my whole life, and I don't know why. And maybe it's the junkyard dog in me, wanting to find a nicer, older gun in nice shape. But I used to have 16 K22 Colt masterpieces. I gave most of them away. But the newest one I ever had was a 1953. And I had 16 of them at one time. And so they're not expensive or hard to find. They're out there. I'm just not into the new stuff. It doesn't do anything for me. I like new tires. I have a relatively new car. But with firearms, I live by my heart. And I just, new doesn't do anything for me. Never has. Let's see. Mr. Ford, what are your thoughts on the S&W 696L frame? 44 hammer-mounted pin. The hammer-mounted pins don't like to fire. I mean, you can get them to fire, you just have to crank them up. Oh, hammer-mounted pin, excuse me. I'm sorry. No lock. The lock, I don't care. It's neither here nor there because it's not functional. It's just aesthetics. But it all happened at the same time. When they took the firing pin off the hammer, then you have to start cranking them up to make them fire. I go to the long firing pin in absolutely every post-96 gun, Smith & Wesson I do, which means I go through 25 of Bill Lowridge firing pins a month or more. And so if it's a no lock, hammer-mounted fire, it's a perfect gun. It's a perfect gun. 44 Special is great cartridge. I was issued a 686 back in '89. Our firearms leader had full power 357s for everything, quals, training, and practice. We were also given 50 rounds a month. Most wouldn't shoot them, so I grabbed everything I could. Some months I was shooting around 1,000 rounds. The load was Remington 158. Within 3 years, I put 2 L frames in the warranty department out of time, and shake and crane alignment problems. When the revolvers were returned, a letter was with them stating not to use full power 357 Magnum rounds consistently. The 426 Hemi that was available in 1970 in the Barracuda and the Challenger had no warranty at all. And it's because it had 2 4-barrel carburetors on it, and you were going to break everything in line to the rear end. You were going to break axles, you were going to break U-joints, you were going to break rods on your pistons, you were going to overheat motors, you were going to destroy them. NASCAR motors, they use them in one race and that's it, they break them down. So if you're going to shoot full power 357 Magnums all day long in your guns, expect them to need repairs and expect them to need replaced, because they will. That's why they didn't warranty the Magnums or the dual Holley 680 carburetor sitting on top of a 426 Hemi. You can't guarantee that stuff. Guys are going to bust them up. I was at CST in the late 70s. We shot at Tunnel 3 on weekends. Were you at CST by any chance? Yes, I was. I was at CST 78 through 80, and I knew Sid Cross. What a character. He was a chief instructor. And I never wore glasses in my life. My eyes were always really good. For up close now, I need them. 2s, 3s, whatever. Close, real close on the vise, I need 4s. But I didn't need glasses, even for the smallest parts. And I don't have really large hands, so I was able to put little springs in and what have you. And they made us wear these glasses when oil would get on them and you couldn't see through them, and it made it harder to do gunsmithing. And I was talking to Sid Cross in Design and Function, the last phase of the gunsmithing school up there. And by the way, when I was there, they had a 1-in-7 graduation ratio. You just didn't go there and sit down and learn and leave. If you couldn't complete projects, you were gone, and they let you try as long as you did. And I watched lots of people just pack up and leave because it wasn't for them. But the glasses got so dirty. A buddy of mine, Rob, said, you can pop the lenses out with your thumbs. Watch. And he popped both lenses out and he handed me the frames. He said, put them on. And I said, I can see perfect. And he said, put the lenses in your toolbox and no one will know you don't have them. And I was talking to Sid Cross about something. You always talk to the chief instructors about problems you're having and they help you. And he's looking at me and he stares at me real close and he reaches up and he goes, boom. And he gets me with his fingers in both my eyes. And I go, damn, Sid. And I covered my face and I turned the other way. And he goes, go put those lenses in and don't come back to me until you have them. So I did shoot at Tunnel 3 and I did enjoy CST. And it was a wonderful place to be. Let's see, Siskiyou. We carried the Model 64 with 4-inch barrels, California Department of Corrections. Tough place to work. They were transitioning to something else when I retired. In 1980, when I turned 21, I bought my Model 63. It has provided a lot of grouse, dinners, kids' grins, and inexpensive practice. The 63 is like a miniature gun. I love them. I've always loved miniature anything. And the little 63 is a perfect little gun. The one thing you might want to do is get a climber reamer, a finishing reamer, 22 chamber reamer, and cut each one of the chambers so the rounds drop in nicely and come out nicely. It'll make a big difference. Due to availability and performance, I shoot only Winchester 296 and H110 in my Model 57. Should I rethink this? It all depends on how much you shoot. If you shoot 200 rounds a week and you shoot it every weekend, you're going to burn the forcing cone out of them. I see them all the time. It's actually a fairly rare occurrence. Most cones are good because people can't afford to shoot if they don't reload. But if you're reloading H110's forcing cone burner, I've known that since I was in my early 20s and I'm 68 years old. And 296, the king of forcing cone burners, and I used to use that stuff. It'll do damage. It's going to burn at a high temperature. It's going to burn away metal. That's all there is to it. It's like the 426 Hemi with 2 4-barrel carburetors. That's how they were delivered. I have an opportunity to buy either a 67.1 or a 67.6, the same price. Both are in great shape. Which one would you prefer? I would have to look at the changes on the 67. The one is probably the, well, the 66 didn't come out until 65, so it's already going to have the left-hand thread extractor, and that's a change on a lot of them, number one change. So I don't know what the change is after that. It could be grips, it could be any number of things. But I like the older guns, so I always buy the 67.1. Can you do a video on cylinder detent removal on the new K-frames, pros and cons? So you're talking about the detent that makes it hard to remove the cylinder. So I'm going to say Pythons only have a rear lockup. And does the Smith need the front lockup? And can you bend the yoke to hold, you know, when the center pin goes into the recoil shield, hold the cylinder in the right place so you don't have wobble? Yes, you can. And it's tricky work, but it's easy to do. And most of them are set up so they will work right. I have pounded those detents out for lots of people because you're not going to pull off a good reload with that thing. You're not going to be able to go boom, 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 and just, you know, dump your rounds and then go for your reload, because you go boom, 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 it's going to be hard to get out. And you can train yourself, but those detents make it tough to take them in and out. And people that put the detents in the guns that aren't in them, they aren't shooters. They actually haven't not had to deal with that situation. Reloading a revolver and trying to do it under a second and a half shot to shot. There were two guys, Palm Saberpong and Stevie Bresson, that I personally timed that were below 1 second on pack timers back in the 80s or whatever, I think mid 80s. And they were going .98 and .96. 6 to 7 shot. And I could never get the timer from people to look at them, but a couple of guys showed me, and I was at 1.2, and on a bad load I was at 1.5, and that's your 6 to 7 shot. That's last shot, dump your rounds, reload, and fire another shot on target. That's moving. And so with those detents in there, I don't see how you're going to pull those numbers. Oh, a video on it, and you just take a pin punch and knock it out of there. It'll come out. So if the forcing cone starts to split on a 66, what are your options? You need a new barrel. If the factory doesn't have replacement, never go to get new replacement barrels. Smith, I love them. They make the best revolvers. We'll leave it at that. Get your barrels off of eBay. Tons of barrels. You can buy whatever you want. Obscure guns. Everything is out there for sale. Let's see, is it possible to weld? I don't think so. But be very careful removing that barrel. You've got to take that barrel and push it back to its original dimensions before you unscrew it out of the frame. Because if you just unscrew it out of the frame and it's got a little spread to it, it'll take out the threads on the way out of the frame. This is only for people that have done this plenty of times. You need to talk to somebody before they do it. If you have a gunsmith doing it, you want to make sure you want a picture of that barrel pushed back together, because they'll open across the bottom like that. And I've also got pictures of them opening up like this. And it took me all of a half hour with a brass punch and a little ball peen hammer to push that barrel back into the position it needed to be in before I removed it from the frame with a pair of frame savers. And then I also use brass rods, like 1/4-inch brass rods this long, and I'll put them, depending on the gun, on either side of the rib or either side of the ejector rod housing in order to protect the finish when I'm using a 15-inch crescent wrench to remove that barrel. And some of them are on there pretty tight. I've flexed my bench with, trying to remove barrels. My whole vise is flexed on my bench trying to remove barrels. But you can do it. Use frame savers. Get yourself a set or contact me. We charge $249 to swap barrels. And if you need me to locate you a barrel, call me and talk to me about it. So I think we've got a lot more here to do. I think we should go ahead and close this at 20 minutes and maybe do another one. I hope you enjoyed the question and answers. Keep them coming.